Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Pratul, and this is Yuvaa Education. It's a show where we talk to prominent queer artists, activists, icons, and allies over a session of color therapy and hopefully learn something about our collective queer experience. And today we're joined by a youth activist, an artist, and a researcher. Please welcome Sukhnidh Kaur.
Hi!
Hi! Welcome to the education. So, are you ready to spread the education to the children?
Yes.
All right, so brushes up and let's get into it. Sukhnidh, so first up, what I want to understand from you is there's a little research that you did which got very widely covered on the internet. Please tell us about what this research was about and what inspired you to do it.
I reached out to about 200 students from Northwest and South India, and I surveyed them and I collected case studies. And on the basis of that collected data, I kind of, explored homophobia in Indian schools, how it happens, why it happens, etc. What we don't really look at when we have conversations about bullying and specifically homophobia-related bullying is the role of the teachers and the principals and the administrative staff in school. And they have vulnerable children in their care. And what happens is that their struggles with homophobia in the classroom become absolutely invisibilized.
As much as I know, and you and I know, how schools are such an important part, and I think that is what also inspired education, essentially, is that the Indian education system kept failing us in terms of giving us literature about reading up about some of these things. So why was it so relevant and important for you to do this with a bird's eye view, not just a bird's eye view for like a whole of homophobia, but just like narrow it down to like doing it for schools specifically?
I realized that these children are in a very, very critical period of development. They're at an age where they're sensitive to everything that's happening around them, and all of these things are going to really, really impact and influence them, and that is going to shape how they, navigate adulthood. And I noticed that it's a conversation we're not having. And I sat with myself and I asked myself, why? This is such an obvious connection. Why aren't we making it? Just the idea that kids can be gay too is so jarring. It's so shocking. It's like, what? That's not right. And I think it has a lot to do with the hyper-sexualization of queerness in India and outside. And just the fact that, we have so much internalized homophobia and there's so much caricaturization of queer people in the media. So these are things we just don't want our children to be. And we don't realize that kids can be gay, lesbian, queer, trans, non-binary, and all of the wonderful things that kids are. Yeah. I have a fairly large following of young people, school-going people on my Instagram. I just put up a survey on my story and I said, if you can fill this out with your experience. It just spread like wildfire. I started getting, South Indian schools and from West India and from North India. And they were just pouring in. And I was heartbroken at every single story that came in.
What were some that were like, so moving, heart-touching, just important stories that needed to be, told?
I had children reach out to me, talking to me about how they had teachers, the teachers named, schools named, said, we'll give you proof. Mm-hmm. And students who've been in therapy because of how school has treated the idea of homosexuality since like 6th grade, 7th grade. And there are stories about how students have been denied things like student council positions because they act gay and they look gay. There's one student who told me that he was a very good compere and wanted to compere for his annual day function. And he didn't get selected and the teacher's file said, sounds gay. Another one which horrified me really is more than 2 accounts of students telling me about how their privacy was violated, wherein teachers took pictures of them engaged in homosexual activity without their consent and sent these pictures to school staff and parents, and suspension, expulsion, rustication, and so on. It's very common. These are some of the most blue-blooded schools you've heard of. the private ones, the fancy public ones, everyday, conversation schools.
I think especially the time that I was growing up and in the kind of schools and just surroundings that I was in, they weren't the most progressive people. So bullying was not something that was considered bad. It was kind of like part of the culture. If you're interested in the arts, if you want to dance, if you want to like do those kind of things, you're going to be called out by everyone in your class. And words like gay and faggot are just being thrown around for absolutely no reason. I wouldn't even know what that means in school. But then if that becomes this identity that I have, of course I'm going to be like scared shitless to like even open my mouth.
Since you spoke about bullying as well, I'd love to get into a little bit of what happens to one individual kid when they are in a school and having the big queer experience. In this time period, you start feeling like you're different, you're being othered, and you feel like there's something wrong with you. That very, very heavily impacts how you navigate your own self and the world. Having that experience at a young age does impact the kind of, person you will grow up to be. Bullying is something that has such an incredible impact on a child when done consistently, which is often in the case of queer children, I imagine. It leads to structural changes in your brain. And they lead to mental health issues like depression and anxiety. And that is something that we have to avoid at all costs.
What I would like to understand from this is if, let's say, you do come across a story in one of the case studies about a school that, let's say, is doing horrific things when it comes to like faculty and teachers, the way that they're treating their kids, especially queer kids. How else do you spread that message or at least get people to talk about it if you don't call out that school for like the stuff that they're doing?
That's actually a very interesting thing I had to navigate when I was doing my study, which is, do we name the schools or do we not name the schools? I didn't name all of them, of course, but I did name a few. Was there backlash? Yes. I remember there was a student who tried to comment on my post saying, this does happen in my school. And the school called him up and said, we saw that, remove it now. I definitely think in terms of syllabi and curriculum, we need to have specifically LGBTQ issues discussed. But beyond that, we also need general LGBTQ representation in like normal,
everyday things.
In everyday things to, make an active effort to normalize queerness.
Has there been somebody that reached out to you after the research was, being talked about that, hey, this has really helped me, or, just thank you for doing this. Like, I'm so happy that, you've taken up an issue that is not being addressed enough.
So many people from school came up to me and said, I thought I was the only one. And I really, really wanted to inspire that sentiment. That you and I are not alone. And there's so many more people going through the same thing, and all we need is the collective force of our experiences.
All right, we're down to our last one, and so we call this segment Being Curious, because, puns, love for it, why not? So I'm going to ask you some lightning round questions about you and some of the things that you might enjoy, and you have to be super, super innocent.
Okay,
yes,
I'm ready.
Great, all right. Tell me your favorite coming-of-age book/movie.
Queer BuzzFeed videos. The ones with Ashley Perez in them, those ones.
Oh my God. Who was the first queer person you saw in mainstream media?
Indian media, that Anouk ad. Loved it.
One queer artist, activist, icon everyone must follow.
Okay, there's somebody who's a friend of mine. Her name is Trinetra. And she is a trans woman, and she is also on her way to becoming a doctor. And she is making waves with dispensing information about the trans experience in India and in representing the community in a positive light. And she is incredible.
One celebrity crush that you couldn't share with anyone?
Madhuri Dixit.
Oh my God. What would your bio be on a dating app?
Will probably ghost you.
What are some of your guilty pleasure books/authors?
Ooh, okay, so I'm obsessed with Mary Oliver.
The last person you harmlessly stalked on Instagram.
Oh, Dhruv Sehgal.
What's the one thing young people inspire you to do?
Oh, everything. My biggest source of inspiration is young kids because of their curiosity, their energy, their want to know things, and how different each one of them is. And I think there's a lot to learn from everything that they do and the creativity that they inspire.
And the last one, what would be your takya kalam?
I keep saying, it's not black or white. Because I feel like, when we talk about things like research and everything, I keep saying it because everything is so complex and everything needs to be looked at from, several different viewpoints. And since I come from a family of academics, it's in my blood. So, yeah.
All right, Sukhnidh, brushes and crayons down. It's time to reveal the art that you so fabulously have been working on. So on the count of 3, turn your canvas around when I say 3, 2, 1, reveal.
That's gay abstract art.
Oh my God.
That person over there is you as a person, and a lot of parts of it are incomplete, but they're only perceived to be incomplete because in your own unique way, you're whole. And there's a big rainbow below you for gay pride.
Beautiful, that's amazing. And that's abstract art.
Yeah.
For me, nobody asked me, but still I will explain. For all the seriously fruity kids out there, go fucking wear a pineapple on your shirt, I guess. I don't know. Like, yeah, that's what it is.
Mine was so pretentious.
Since you have been so kind and nice to us, we would like you to take this opportunity to a public service announcement, a shameless plug, whatever you want to say. The cameras are yours. The floor is yours. Please take it away.
Okay, I just want to tell the people watching this, especially the young ones, that I am a very scared and anxious person. My, defining traits, you can say. And it took a lot of courage for me to delve into something like this. And I don't regret it at all. And every single moment has been fabulous, working on something I like. And having it, make even a little bit of an impact. So if there's something that really drives you, a change that you really want to make, please, please, please do it. Think of impact. Think of, what drives you in a very authentic manner, and just go for it, and it's going to be amazing.
Lisa, thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Yuvaa is doing some fantastic work, so please follow them on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at We Are Yuvaa.